Hello, and welcome to the Cycle Endometriosis podcast, where we will delve deep into experiences, challenges, and triumphs of those navigating a life with endometriosis. Join us as we share the stories of resilience, offer insights from experts, and foster a community of support for those affected by this often misunderstood condition. Whether you're newly diagnosed, a seasoned warrior, or seeking understanding, I hope this podcast is here to help empower you and uplift you on your journey. Tune in as we break the silence, shatter stigmas, and amplify the voices of the endometriosis community. Medical disclaimer: this podcast is not intended for the purpose of providing medical advice. All information, content, and material of this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to serve as a substitute for the consultation, diagnosis, and/or medical treatment of a qualified physician or healthcare provider. Thank you so much for being here, and now on to the show. Us from very far away from me, maybe not very far away from you, but I have Em. Thank you so much for joining us from Australia this morning, very early morning for Em, afternoon for me. How are you today?
I'm going pretty good. I'm just waking up. It's quite early, and yeah.
Yeah, it's a Friday here, so it's Saturday for Em. Very early waking for you on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, I don't mind though.
We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you coming on the show. So I always like to start, just tell us a little bit about yourself. It doesn't have to be endo related. Okay. Do you have any fur babies, anything you want to share that you're comfortable?
Yeah, so I live on the mid-north coast in Australia. When I was young, I really focused in on music and art. So they were my strengths. As I got older, I sort of leaned toward photography, and hiking up until a couple of years ago. Other than that, I just love having coffee with family or friends. Yeah, pretty much.
Beautiful place. Are there beautiful hikes around you?
Oh, yes.
I bet, yeah.
It's sort of become few and far between over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and we'll get into your story and hear why, but definitely one of the places to visit on my bucket list is to come visit you and your beautiful country. For sure. Okay, well, you had alluded to, hiking potentially is more challenging. So let's start talking about endo, and at least when did you first notice maybe something was off? Pain or stomach issues, or, what kind of happened that led you to believe something was going on with you?
Okay, so from my teenage years, I always had pain. I thought everyone else was experiencing that. And then I remember being in college in my early 20s, and there was a time where it's quite funny. We were in a first aid class, and I was on, I think, the first or second day of my period, and it was almost as if all of the information plus what was going on in my body was too much. So I was the example of, hey, let's get Emma to lay down on the floor, and as if she's going to faint. So I was a good practice patient. So yeah. And then so that's sort of when I noticed,
Something was weird. Something was off.
Yeah.
And you were having pain. Was it pain with your cycle, or just like pain all the time, stomach pain? What type of pain were you experiencing, like in your, like you said, like teenage to 20s?
Yeah. So at first it was just period pain, and then it was mid-cycle pain as well. And now it's chronic. So it's
daily.
pain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
daily
yeah,
pain. I'm so sorry to hear that. So
yeah.
after this kind of funny, like you became the patient
Hmm.
situation, what happened? What happened after that? Like, was there something that happened, or did you start to feel off more often? Like, what was the next thing that happened in your story, getting you
Yeah.
down this endo diagnosis road?
Yeah. So when I was about 25 or 26, that's when I started getting pain through the night. It was waking me, and I was having to call into work a week at a time. I have a week off, and I thought this is becoming a pattern here, and I started getting really anxious around it. There were also some really traumatic things that happened around my 20s. So I asked my workplace if I could have some counselling. But while I was having counselling, I realized, oh, hang on, this anxiety is only happening leading up to my period. So, yeah. And then I went I went away on holidays uh, to South Australia, which was a flight, 2 flights away. And usually visiting extended family, I would feel better. I would pep up. It would get me back on track. But something was different this time. I'd lost a stack of weight. I didn't know at this time that I was anemic. Um, yeah, so
So
my
you're just
aunt and
feeling
uncle,
very
yeah,
tired too, and everything. If you were anemic, and
yes,
you're not the only endo patient that I've spoken to that was anemic as well.
yeah. So that I learnt later that can exacerbate anxiety, exacerbate insomnia
Yeah.
and nausea. So yeah, my extended family, they were incredibly worried about me. They were calling my parents when I was over there.
Yeah.
um, mm,
Yeah.
so
So
uh,
this is like your mid 20s now, you're saying, and
mm,
you're just feeling very run down and nauseous
yeah,
and not sleeping well, and
yeah,
and your family starts to worry about you. What happened after
yeah.
that?
Um, so it did get better for a time. Uh, I met someone from Chicago who flew all the way to Australia to meet me. Uh, six, that would have been 2013.
Okay.
But the thing about that was, I mean, yes, it was a great experience, but I was still very unwell, and I was very nervous about him flying all the way here and what would he expect. Um, so he stayed here for a year, and the the stress of that was massive. I didn't realize that it was going to be so big. So I ended up having to go to the emergency room and ask for some help because my insomnia was worse. And at first they said, "Oh yeah, we'll put you on just like SSRI medication." I said, "Oh, I can't have that medication. I've had a bad reaction. Is there a different category?" And luckily there was. So that medication helped me for a good 2 years, and I still remain on it, even though it's not as effective.
And it helped you
That
get some
helped me sleep and helped me eat.
Yeah. And with all that pain that you're experiencing, it's very hard if you don't sleep to recover. Before you had gone to the emergency room, have you seen any other doctors like along this journey? You knew you weren't feeling well. Had you seen like your general practitioner or anyone else kind of leading up to this emergency room visit?
So I had gone to my GP until my 20s. I hadn't needed to visit a GP.
Right.
You know, I just went along with life, and so yes, I had been to the GP, and I asked her even to do a hormone test just to see if the levels were okay, because I didn't know really what this would be, and she offered to put me on the pill. So I tried a couple of different ones for a while, and I don't like the way the pill makes me feel at all. I was patient with it, but when it comes down to it, I don't react well.
You're not alone in that. I've definitely talked to a lot of people who did, felt like they felt better, but a lot of people who didn't tolerate it well, didn't feel well on it. Myself included, very similar. I did not tolerate it very well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and then,
go ahead.
And then about 5 days passed, and she called me and said, "Oh, your ferritin is a 5 when it should be around 35 and upwards." Yeah. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then what happened after that?
Pain just sort of continued, mostly with my cycle and mid-cycle. And then in 2020, 2020 was a difficult year for everyone with COVID. But I had a very bad reaction to some anti-nausea medication, which caused like a type of dystonia, so a movement disorder. And I was taken off to the emergency room. I think I nearly died of dehydration. And it took several months to recover because I no longer felt like I was in my body. So I went to the depth of despair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry that happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And during that very challenging year too, where there couldn't get out much either, you probably didn't feel like it, but
I didn't feel like it. No. But even during that time, I was noticing pain, and I was going to see the doctor quite regularly, trying to work through everything that had happened, like the depression and not feeling like myself. And they brushed it off. I mentioned endometriosis because my mum had a hysterectomy for it. So they brushed it off, and they really tried to focus in on the depression. One person even said, "Oh, you have like conversion disorder." I'm like, no,
right.
no, I've never been like this in my life.
Right. You were saying, help me, like what's going on, and the fact that, you had a family history.
Yeah. But also at that time, I began having like numbness and different nerve sensations, which are constant now. And I've learned that that's from the endo now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
what I
I
was
was
going to
saying,
ask. Like, were other symptoms starting to pop up now during this time? Yeah.
yeah. So it was as if I wasn't being heard. And then I seemed to get better until 2022, the end of 2022. I went away on a holiday up north to Queensland. It's very, very hot. And while I was there, I had a massive flare up and ended up very dehydrated. Again, I had to visit the emergency on holiday just to get fluid from the emergency room. So,
and at this point, you still don't know that you have endometriosis.
I suspected it, but
yeah, but
I didn't know what was going on.
right.
So after that, I didn't know how severe, because I suspected it when I was
young, right? Younger.
young. Yeah. So it's like, oh, I'll just deal with the pain. I'll just carry on.
And
At my age.
normal, like that's the hardest part, is that you're told, oh, it's normal, but it's like this whole body disease that we don't understand until all of these other like symptoms, complications, and things start happening.
Yes. And I'd even been for my routine checkup back in 2018. And I brought it up with the gynecologist. I said, do you think it could be endo? Because my mum had it, and even my eldest sister had it. And they said, oh, no, it's just, you've got severe PMS. So there was no, no questioning them.
Right. It was just.
So I felt gaslit pretty much.
Sure.
Yeah.
How could you not? Especially with the family history that it was just, you have severe PMS or PMDD, go on your way. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. So after holiday in 2022 and you had to go to the emergency, what did you come home and say, something's wrong. I got to figure out what's going on.
Yes. That's when I noticed that it was becoming daily and becoming worse, and the pain was like appendicitis or gallstones or something like that, because it was in that location on the right hand side mainly. And I spent most of 2023 trying to figure it out. I was thinking, oh, maybe I've hurt my back even, because I get back pain. It spreads from head to toe.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, have I injured myself? Like, what's going on? So I went to an osteopath. I went to a physiotherapist. I went to a herbalist to see if they could help with the natural remedies.
Yeah.
My GP at that time was very slow in referring me anywhere. And yeah, it was too slow for me, because I thought, if I don't find out, I'm going to lose my job if I don't get this under control.
Right. Especially being not feeling well every single day. Did seeing, I know probably not the osteopath, but did seeing the herbalist or physio, did you get a little bit of relief from either of those things? Was there a little bit of relief or help?
So all of them helped.
Yes.
I got with the osteo, because it's mild manipulation of the muscles and things like that, I got a bit of relief for an afternoon, and then everything sort of went back.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, something isn't right. Your nervous system is shot.
Yeah.
Because as you said, it's a whole body disease.
Right. Your body,
So,
it's like triage, and like everything's just freezing up because of the pain. So much pain.
Yeah. So then I went to a physio. They showed me some exercises because I was getting like sciatic symptoms as well.
Yeah.
I only went once because I was thinking to myself, this is not sciatica. Like, it's internal. I knew it was internal.
Yeah, you
Um,
knew.
the herbalist helped because that sort of looked at diet as well. She put me on a blood type diet, which means not many grains, bread, that sort of thing. Lots of meat and veg, and just trying to avoid things that upset your stomach. So that was helpful, and I do try to follow that, but it's very hard.
Sometimes I tell people this all the time. Sometimes when you're nauseous or in pain or not feeling well, you're not excited to have meat and veg. Like, I look at it and I'm like, I can't eat that right now. And sometimes I just want like a piece of, well, I do gluten-free, but a piece of gluten-free bread or some gluten-free oatmeal, or like, I just need something that feels comforting to my stomach, and I can't do it. It's hard.
Yeah.
Very hard. Especially if you're nauseous. Looking at broccoli is not what you want when you're nauseous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that helps. So did your GP, what happened with the GP? Did they finally come through?
I ended up, I was dating someone at the time, and they said they're not moving very quickly with this. Like, maybe it's worth changing doctors. So I did for a short time. I'd been back and forth to emergency a lot in 2023.
Yeah.
So I went to this new GP. I said, look, basically the emergency staff have said that perhaps it's my depression playing up again. Perhaps it's all mental health. I'm trying to work through some difficult things. I have, a friend that's got a condition going to be heartbreaking in the end. But anyway, when it came down to it, I pointed to the location of the pain, and I explained what was going on, like fainting, all the stomach issues, how I was just losing electrolyte too quickly, and not being able to keep up because I felt so dreadful. And within a couple of visits, I was eventually referred. They sent me off for an ultrasound. That particular ultrasound picked up that I had this cyst on the right-hand side. I'd had that cyst for like years and it hadn't disappeared. Basically, I was being told, oh, it's a simple cyst, it'll go away. But this ultrasound picked up that my right ovary had this cyst with its own blood supply, so it wasn't going away.
No,
and
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and also my ovary was very, very enlarged and had a lot of fluid. So I think when they did that ultrasound, it had 60 mil of
Wow.
fluid.
Wow.
It was more than twice the size than it should be. So it was obviously pressing on different organs
Of
and
course, yeah, and your back and the nerves and all
yeah,
of that.
yeah.
Wow.
So they picked that up and they did a referral to the gynecologist that diagnosed me. I specifically said, I don't want to see the same one that I saw back in 2018. I need to see someone different. I need a second opinion.
Yeah.
And from the moment that I walked in to this specialist office, she said, I can see you're not well. You can barely walk. Like, something is going on. I can't believe that they've misdiagnosed you. Why would they diagnose you with severe PMS? And with your sister's history, with your mum's history,
Right.
she listened. She listened and she got angry on my behalf because I'm not the type to sort of stand up for myself. But now, I mean, I'm getting that confidence now because I've got my diagnosis.
Yeah.
And I've also got a genetic test that tells me what medications I can have as well. So that really helped going in with that knowledge.
Yes.
I'm no longer treated like, oh, she's just anxious.
Right.
Or, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Though you shouldn't have had to wait this many years. How many years? I mean, how many years did it take you to get to that doctor?
Oh, well over a decade, 11, 12 years. Yeah.
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 She sounds like a great doctor. So
Yeah.
what did she recommend? What did you do next?
So in the consult, she said to me, I could give you medication to try, but I really feel that we need to have a look at what this is. I really feel that we need to do surgery.
Yeah.
And so I agreed. From day one, I agreed because
Right.
I said, look, I'm getting feelings like different things are being dragged. Like I can't, it's such a strange feeling.
Yes.
And and she said, also your ultrasound isn't normal. It's not normal.
No, you have this big cyst with its own blood supply and your poor
Yeah,
ovary is double the size.
yes. And she said, your left ovary is it's not moving freely. So it's stuck.
Yeah. Right.
So within it was last April it was last April that I had surgery to investigate. And I awoke in recovery and my blood pressure was very, very low. So I don't know what went on, but obviously complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, even just a simple surgery. I had to stay overnight when usually it would be a day procedure.
Mm-hmm.
So I woke up and I asked the recovery nurse, do I have endometriosis? I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
And she said, yes, you do. The doctor will be around to see you when you're more awake.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
You're still groggy at that moment, but
Yeah. Yeah, but I wanted to know.
Of course. And that's it's so many people I talk to on the podcast and off the podcast and even doctors, I say, what percentage do you do a surgery when someone has these types of symptoms and for years trying to get help, and how often is it that they don't have endometriosis, right? But it's just such a fear after so many years of being gaslit and told it's in her head or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a realistic fear to have, and I'm not surprised that was your first question when you woke up.
Yes, definitely. And then they said, because of everything that's gone on, we're going to keep you overnight. And then when I got to the ward, my specialist registrar, the junior doctor, she came around and saw me and said, you've got stage 4 endometriosis, and we could only remove your left ovary. It was so diseased, it had to go. And the damage is so severe that we have to refer you on to a bigger hospital. The specialist did not feel right about just removing a little bit and leaving the rest. So I've been referred on to an endo surgeon, an excision surgeon. So still waiting on that. But
have you been able to see that doctor yet, or you're still waiting?
So I've seen him. I was given notification that it could be in April, this surgery, but I highly doubt it with the wait list.
Yeah.
So,
And how have you, I mean, I respect your doctor so much for at least doing the best that she could, and then referring you on to someone who can help more with the disease. But how have you been feeling over this past year?
It's been difficult. I mean, every day is difficult. You know, because I have to keep working as much as I can. But I've had to cut down my hours because I need that rest day in order just to make it through the next day, you know?
I'm so sorry to hear that. But I'm grateful that you found what sounds like a really great 2 doctors now.
Yeah. And she said, look, he's in my opinion, he's the best in Australia. And she said, I've seen him do surgery. I've done a few courses under him, like education. And she wanted me to do a fundraiser to try and get in earlier for surgery. But with endo and any chronic illness, you don't have that social circle. You don't have a big, you don't have as many people to help fund that. So, I mean, I did a little bit of fundraising, and I put that all on my mortgage because that's the most sensible thing to do. So, but now it's just waiting. And I started taking CBD oil just this Christmas gone. That helps a little bit. That helps me push past at least
the symptoms off a little bit.
Yeah.
And you say you take it, it's something you take orally?
So just the oil, you take it under your tongue, and I take the one without THC because I have to be able to function at work.
For sure. Yes.
And I have to be able to
I feel so good. You're at work, you don't carry the THC. No, yes. I've taken the tincture, I think is what they call it here, but
Yeah,
it's like an oil. But I like, there's like some balms that come in like a stick that I'll put also
yeah,
like on the outside, like on my
yeah.
back, and it really, again, it doesn't take it all away, but it does take that. It
It
has
does
helped
help.
me. It takes the edge
Mm,
off.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
good.
It also helps with the sleep side of things, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one.
For sure. Are there other things that you found? I know you mentioned, changing your diet and the CBD. Is there anything else that you found to be very helpful or that really like is your go-to?
So I discovered this brand uh, called Hey Sister. It's made by someone that does have endo. She's a naturopath now, so she's studied functional medicine.
Okay.
Um, and so I give that a go. It's from this supplement or tablet, anti-inflammatory, pretty much. It kind of takes the place of naproxen or things like that that could give you like gastritis, like
Yeah.
symptoms.
Yeah.
So I try that. Sometimes it's not doesn't do everything that I want it to.
Yes.
Yeah, but it helps. And it's got an African plant in it called kaya root.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And it's called Hey Sister.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
not sure if it's available overseas,
Yeah, yeah,
but
but it's available there. At least we have a lot of people who listen from Australia. So if anyone's listening and wants to
okay.
check it out, that
Yeah.
any resources that's why I always ask because,
Yeah.
if it helps
Yeah.
one person, it might help somebody else for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
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 Oh my goodness. Well,
Mm,
I really appreciate you, sharing all of that and um I'm hoping that you can get in soon for your excision surgery. Are there any
mm,
other tips or things that you want to, besides the CBD, is there anything else that you want to share with patients who are listening, or maybe even doctors?
mm. I'd say I well, I would say to medical professionals, don't don't just put everything under the banner of anxiety. Yes, this pain condition does make you anxious, and there are other factors in life that do make you anxious, but you can have multiple diseases going on all at once. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it can't just
Listen,
always be, it can't be fixed, just with an antidepressant.
right.
You've got to listen to the whole story. And also, I'm so grateful that science has gotten to the stage where we can have genetic tests because um, that medication test that I had that saved my life because I've got a liver problem. I was born with it, where I can't metabolize over 100 different medications. So like most of your anti-nausea medications, most of your depression medications, and even some pain medications. So
And what
yeah,
is this test? If other, I haven't heard of this.
yeah,
So what is it called? How does it work? Because there may be other people that are
yeah,
interested in trying this.
yeah. So it's called over here. It's called a sonic PGX panel.
Okay.
It it was fairly costly, but I was at the point in 2020 where I was pretty much being their guinea pig, just
Yeah.
trying to see if this medication help, but I felt like I was being poisoned. I felt worse.
Yeah.
So, you know, I remember saying to my dad, I just wish there was a test that could tell me like what medications I should be taking. And thankfully, there was a specialist back then who said, actually, there is a new one. And yes, Emma should have it. So,
And then how is it, like a blood test, or how do they test it?
yes, so it is a blood test,
Okay.
but it's a genetic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. It's not a
I'm
blood
not
test.
sure.
Right.
I'm not sure.
But
It's very complicated. Not even my general practitioner could read it. She had to get someone to decipher.
right. Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
asked. I mean, there's a few, like, I know some people do the Dutch test that's like more for hormones, and that's with
Mm.
urine. Some are blood. I know there's some genetic testing that people use saliva for. So I was just curious. So if people
Yeah.
are looking into that, I think that is really helpful that you got that, because some of, like you said, some of these medications you were taking and they were actually making things worse for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how, I mean, that's how that reaction happened. The dystonic reaction happened back in
Yeah.
2020 from that anti-nausea medication that is so widely given. Yeah, so
Right.
it's
And people
very
may not,
valuable test.
react well to it.
Mm.
One thing that I have found personally, and with just talking to a lot of people on this show, is I do find that a lot of endo patients don't react to certain medications the same way that others do. Like, I find
Mm.
that I'm very sensitive. Like, I have to take a
Yeah,
lesser dose than somebody else. Otherwise, it's
yes,
too much. And I just feel
yes.
like I can't handle, like, it's almost like my body can't handle it. And I'm wondering, and again, I'm not a doctor, but I speculate that
Yeah.
because we're dealing with so much inflammation all the time, our bodies just don't handle things the same way that other people's
Mm.
bodies do. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I think there's been talk of um, endo being somewhat a genetic predisposition.
Yeah.
Mm, um, yeah, and I mean, I've got a coworker that's very similar, very sensitive. She rattled off a whole heap of medications that she couldn't have either, and I'm like, well, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
very sensitive. I don't know about you. I've also talked to other patients about this, to like smells, like perfumes,
Mm,
or like if somebody, those things that people like plug it, like air fresheners that people plug into the walls.
mm,
If I go into like a
can't do
vacation or something, I have to find it and take it out immediately. I'm
that.
instant headache, instantly don't feel well, and I can't it's
Yeah.
just like I can't handle it. It's
Yes.
really wild.
Yeah. It has such an impact on histamine levels
Yeah.
as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be
Um,
the perfume problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
I can't handle it the same way other people, they look at me like, what is wrong? Like, I smell it immediately. I'm like, where is it?
mm,
But other people are like, I
yeah.
don't even smell what you're smelling. So yeah, it's just very, very sensitive to all of that. Well, I
Yeah.
really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us today. And I'm so sorry for all you've been through, but I look forward to hearing about when you get scheduled for your excision surgery, and we'll chat again for sure. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you want to share or add that we've missed?
No, I don't think there's anything that's been missed. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Of course. Thank you for waking up at before the sun rises in Australia to talk with me. But we do have a lot of Aussies that listen to the show, so I'm sure they'll really appreciate this. And
Yeah.
some people may, hear that you have found a doctor too, and they may want to find that doctor as well. So,
Mm,
um,
for sure.
yeah. Well, thank you
Yeah.
again so much for being on the show. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening to the show and supporting the show. It means so much to me and everybody else, just trying to get awareness out there about this disease, and patients like Em sharing their story make a big difference. So please leave us a 5-star review if you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next month. Thanks for listening. You did it. Perfect job. I almost lost my microphone. It fell. Oh, you did great. Oh, you were